There was something that happened with one of my newer students, and it is a problem that I know I had a lot of trouble with, and it's something that I've seen many of my newer students struggle with as well. So I just wanted to kind of throw this out there to help you guys out, especially if you're someone that's within their first year or two of training, who might be making this mistake. So, with my student that came in the other day, he was just having a rough day. He felt a little off. He got on the mat, and when he got on there, he started rolling, and the sweeps that he was using the previous week, they just weren't working this week. And then, he said that the whole week just sort of followed that pattern, right? Like the guys that he was training with previously, for some reason he couldn't hit the moves that he was hitting the previous week, and he just didn't feel like himself. And so he would just get, the bar that he had set, right? He was starting to get some sweeps, he was starting to get submissions, he was starting to, feel like he was making some headway and some progress. And then the next week comes around, and it's like it's all gone. So what happened? And the mistake that I'm talking about is setting the bar for yourself at a certain level every time you step on the mat. And so it's one of those things where it happens a lot. People get really bummed when they get into the gym and they don't hit those techniques that they've been working on. Here's a couple things that you have to understand. First off, your partners are training, right? You can't expect to beat your partners all the time. And it kind of, if you think that way, if you set the precedent, like you beat them once, and so you always expect to beat them, that kind of detracts from the fact that they're training too, right? They're on the mat training just as hard as you are, so obviously they're going to get better as well. And it also kind of takes away from the fact that that's one of the best parts about having a consistent training partner, right? Because you start with move A, and then you hit move A on them, right? Well, then they start to adjust to that move. So then you have to find something that chains off of move A to move B, and then you'll have this sort of building process with your training partners where all of a sudden you get these long chains of techniques and adjustments. And then when you roll, like A, B, C, D, whatever, and then when you roll with someone that you've never trained with before, or if you go to a competition, it's like move A works, Also, one of the things that's going to happen is if you constantly come into the gym with this bar set for yourself and this expectation of how you are supposed to perform, then you're going to be hindered in your growth. And the reason being is because you're probably going to be afraid to lose. I know that this was my problem. I know when I first started training, I was terrified. I hated losing. I was just terrified of it. I was really insecure. And so, for me, if I stepped on the mat and I got submitted by someone that I was used to submitting, then the whole thing was a failure. Basically, I lost. The whole day was a wash no matter what else I did, right? And so the problem with that is like I was, up until like a late blue belt, purple belt, I couldn't open up into new positions because I was so frozen into using my A game, because if I didn't use my A game, if they passed my guard or if they got a submission on me or something, I lost my shit. I would get upset, I would get frustrated, and that's not a good way to train, because you're not allowing yourself to open up and explore and get into different positions and find what's really good for your body type. So make sure that you don't make that mistake that I made, and don't make the mistake that many new people make, because I see this happen so many times. New people come in the gym, they start training, they're having a good time, and then they start to get a little success going, and then what happens? They get upset because they have a bad day or a bad week, because it happens like that sometimes. And it's just the wrong attitude to have towards training, because if you're not allowing yourself to train, to mess up, to fail, then you're not allowing yourself to grow, and you're not going to be the best jiu-jitsu practitioner that you can be. And on top of that, I think you're kind of missing the whole point of this thing. This is not just about me beating up some other guy, it's about sort of personal development. So make sure that you're focused on yourself, what you can do, and growing on the mat, not just beating up your training partners.